Welcome to the DeFi Standard. This is Patty XRP and
Mickey B. Fresh. And today we're gonna have Patty's gonna go do a deep dive into the Acala ecosystem, which is on the Polkadot network, which is the counterpart to Karora, which is on Kusama. So it's a digital sovereign wealth fund, and it's a DeFi ecosystem. So Patty, take it away here, and let's get into the deep dive.
absolutely. So they're calling Acala Network is calling themselves the DeFi hub of Polkadot, and it will feature two decentralized protocols that enable cross-chain financial stability and liquidity on the Polkadot network. These are termed the Hansen stablecoin protocol and the Homa tokenized staking liquidity protocol. So on top of that, kind of in their abstract from their white paper, they state that single network assets are fundamentally limited by its underlying ledger and the assets available on that platform as collaterals, hence limiting their usage and adoption. So this is kind of speaking towards their stablecoin protocol and how enabling interoperability helps to increase usage and adoption of like stablecoin protocols rather than maybe limiting the types of collateral that can be on it if that chain doesn't have a lot of interoperability. So that's what Polkadot's, one of their big things is bringing other assets onto the network. Um, Additionally, they state that some of their goals are to create a sound, stable currency for low cost, borderless value transfer. Collaterals can be both from Polkadot network and any other connected networks. Leverage Polkadot's shared security mechanism, which is the parachain architecture. So when Acala goes to become a parachain, and let's say they win their parachain loan offering, then they will be sharing in the nominated proof of stake security that the relay chain from Polkadot has. Additionally, they're looking to achieve true decentralization and censorship resistance through its consortium setup and token release model. So they kind of have steps that happen over like a 6 week period until the network is fully decentralized when they launch the first code. And then additionally, they want to be a specialized stablecoin network that can have customized fee schedules while maintaining the security. So that has to do with using other collateral assets and what kind of liquidation ratios or collateral ratios are placed around those. And then additionally, they want to be future proof with forkless and non disruptive upgrades via on chain governance and serve as a building block for more open finance services. So those are a lot of like what they're aiming to do on the Acala network. And the stablecoin, which will be multi collateral backed by cryptocurrencies, is going to be completely decentralized and called the Acala dollar stablecoin. Its ticker will be AUSD and will be pegged to the US dollar. And so, additionally, getting more into the stablecoin protocol, they're going to require over collateralization utilizing collateralized debt positions. And it will be closely modeled after MakerDAO from Ethereum. So every time, like let's say they offer 10 different assets as collateral, every time you put up a different asset as collateral to take out AUSD, you will have to set up a new CDP. So you can't combine two assets into the same CDP. So like let's say you used like a cross-chain Bitcoin representation and Polkadot or the DOT token. Those would be two separate CDPs that you manage on their own. And then also, very interestingly enough, since MakerDAO utilizes an auctioning system when a collateralized debt position gets liquidated, that kind of requires people to actually be like monitoring liquidations and then um, setting up those auctions off chain. However, due to like Polkadot's ecosystem setup, the Hansen protocol is able to use an off chain worker, which is an automatic schedule service unique to Substrate to automate this process and inherently increase security and stability of the stablecoin. So Substrate's kind of like their developer palette, and that allows them to create this automatic liquidator essentially, which is something that is not possible on Ethereum currently.
Now, Substrate is similar to like an SDK. It's just a common framework for all parachains.
Yep, absolutely. And so, interestingly enough, it's kind of like it's kind of like modules. So let's say you wanted a module for like Ethereum smart contracts, there would be that within the Substrate like entire architecture. And so it allows developers to like pull different things they would want to build on their blockchains or their parachains they're creating and utilize those to kind of like pull from, previously created libraries and not have to redo code and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what like David Schwartz has explained in the past when he's talked about federated sidechains, is building out those libraries and those modules so that you have a common framework there that you could just like plug together, like kind of like WordPress for a website, but for except for a parachain.
Yep, exactly. And that's something like David Schwartz has said with the side chains that they want to, eventually be to a place where you can hit a checklist and you can have those things as part of your side chain. So Substrate's like a big part of the Polkadot ecosystem. And like we've mentioned in previous videos, Dr. Gavin Wood, who's like the founder of Polkadot, is the one that created the Ethereum virtual machine and now has been behind the creation of Substrate. So, yeah. But so additionally here, the Akala network is going to have a main governance and utility token called the Akala token. Its ticker symbol will be ACA. It's pretty vital to the stablecoin protocol that they have. So anytime that you go to close a collateralized debt position, you will be required to pay some ACA tokens as a stability fee. So like this stability fee could be 2% per year. And let's say you had, $10,000 worth of stable coins loaned out to you for an entire year before you pay it back. You would pay all those stable coins back to get your collateral back, but also you would pay the stability fee in the ACA token. However, you don't have to like necessarily pay with it. You could pay with another asset like other stable coins if you wanted to, but the protocol will exchange those tokens for ACA, and they will be subsequently burned from the ecosystem.
So this sounds similar to like a Kava, but on the Polkadot network with some advanced features here for parachains and the Akala network specifically.
Well,
But with
yeah.
multi-chain, it sounds like there's multi-assets going into collateral deposition. So another question I have here, Patty, would be: would you be able to use DOT in as collateral for the Akala stablecoin?
Yes, yeah, you can use DOT, you can use LDOT, which we'll kind of get into here further, which is a liquid form of stake DOT. You can use like XBTC, which I think is called Interchain Bitcoin. They had a few other assets. You can use the Akala token. So basically, it seems like anything that will be on that network, as long as governance is cool with its like risk profile, will be able to use this collateral for these CDPs. And they actually have an interesting contingency solution. So they say in situations such as a sudden price collapse of a collateral asset resulting in a ton of under collateralized CDPs, ACA tokens will be automatically diluted and sold on the market for system recapitalization. So this is like kind of a last ditch effort to save the solvency of the stablecoin system. If too many assets get under collateralized at once and are classified as bad debt, then the system can mint ACA tokens and sell them on the open market in order to start closing some of the collateralized debt positions that are now at risk. So that's kind of nice that they have like one of those last ditch efforts built in with that.
Yeah, you need those with these systems as like a fail-safe, just as a last resort. And just these collateral depositions and collateralized stablecoins are really the heart of DeFi ecosystems. And this is where Ethereum's DeFi ecosystem was born out of MakerDAO. So that's why you see Akala as being the DeFi hub. You need that collateralized stablecoin. And that's what they're building there. And you create the hub, and then around that, the other DeFi protocols will be built, from yield farming to liquidity pools and others. And you see on Flare, they have similar things. You have Aave being built as a collateralized stablecoin backed by FXRP, and you have YUSD on Flare Finance. So these are hubs that are necessary to really boost the ecosystem of DeFi. And that's why I think Polkadot and Akala is one of the first parachains that's going to go live, because you need that to really get the whole DeFi ecosystem going.
Yep, absolutely. And any like The AUSD stablecoin can go to like any of the different parachains on the Polkadot ecosystem, so it's not just constrained to Akala. And also, like it could be potentially bridged over to other blockchains too that Akala is connected with, or some other parachain. And
It
I
gives a
also
nice interoperability right there. There's
yes,
supposed to be up to 100 parachains, correct?
yes, I think that's their like current limit would be around 100. It'll take them a while to get there. Like I would say a couple years at least before they filled all 100 slots, but yeah, it's a lot. And additionally, with this stablecoin protocol, I just wanted to throw in that they have additional liquidation penalty. So, like, let's say the liquidation ratio is 120% and you fall like to 110% for too long, they'll liquidate the amount that you're under collateralized. So, you won't have everything liquidated. However, there's an additional penalty that's placed on top of that. So, like, let's say if it's an additional 20%, then you'll lose the collateral that you're under collateralized by. And then also you would lose that liquidation penalty. And that'll just be sourced through the collateral auction. So you don't manually pay that. It'll just be done when your collateral gets auctioned off. And then you'll have any remaining collateral delivered back to you. So that's like important for managing your risk to know that there is like an extra layer of penalty for not maintaining the collateral ratio.
Now, when you get liquidated, you're still able to keep then the stable coin. You just would lose the collateral then, correct?
Let me think about that for one sec. Uh, yeah, so it you would be able to keep the stable coins. They couldn't like take that away from you, but yeah, you would be losing value in the collateral that you had. So that's important to note. And then additionally, we'll get into now Liquid Dot or L Dot, which is made possible by the HOMA protocol, which is their tokenized staking liquidity protocol. So basically, originally the Polkadot network was targeting 50% active dot staking with a 20% annual return. Now it's around 70% active dot staking and a 14% return. And what this does is it effectively creates an opportunity cost for using the DOT token in other applications versus staking. So, people have to decide, do I just want to stake my DOT and that's all I do with it and it earns X percentage per year? Or can I take that DOT and use it somewhere else and earn maybe a slightly higher return, but maybe I have more risk? So that's kind of the opportunity cost that's going on there. Um, and they say if DeFi lending applications provide a better yield than staking, it could also motivate the collective movement of funds from staking to lending, causing a bank run and risking the security of the entire network. So what they're trying to do is allow people to, earn that interest with staking their dot, but also be able to use a derivative form of that dot and have it liquid to be used in other DeFi applications. And this way it'll kind of prevent people from being worried about maybe missing out on 25% yield in a DeFi application and staking their DOT so that a bunch of people don't all of a sudden, as DeFi comes and becomes popular on the Polkadot ecosystem, they don't all of a sudden like everybody just unstakes, which would be bad for the network security.
I
Um,
think this is one of the most fascinating innovations that just it goes to show how there are problems sometimes with a protocol with staking. You lock that value up now, and it's kind of opposed to now DeFi. Like if you're going to earn 25% yield there, and then the governance is going to only earn 15%. By unlocking that derivative and that liquid dot there, L dot, it frees it up because now you're able to use that in the DeFi too and still maintain the governance. And I think you never could bet against innovation. I think this just shows how fast DeFi and blockchain are moving and that these innovations are allowed to overcome flaws and problems that we thought were impossible to overcome. And whoop, they just overcome them now with solutions like this. And I think we'll see this in other staking networks as well.
Yeah, it's funny, Mickey, because I remember I was talking to our buddy Brooklyn, like maybe a month or two ago, and I was like, if any of these parachains are, finding a way to make stake dot liquid, then that's a pretty great application. So, we saw that a call or Karura, which Mickey said earlier was the Canary variant of the Akala network on Kusama. Basically, I think they were the first parachain that secured a slot. So a lot of people are really excited about Akala, and I imagine like Liquid Dot is one of the main reasons. And additionally, they actually just had a token event that they started registration for. And within the first 53 minutes, they had 50,000 people register to be able to participate in a token sale. And that excluded US people. And so they had to close it because they already hit like the max cap that they were able to do within like what is it, 43 minutes. So that shows a
Wow.
lot of people are interested.
Absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
what was this token sell for? Was this a treasury?
Yeah, so yes. So they have a function called the treasury, which kind of it holds reserves basically of assets in the Akala network for use in the future for different things. And they were raising the initial amount of reserves there by selling some of the Akala token, and they had 50,000 people sign up in under an hour. So that's pretty strong turnout, especially when you could possibly earn the Akala token from its parachain crowd loan as well. Um, but yeah,
Now, I saw with DOT now 70, just like you said there, 70% is the max supply. So right now, the DOT staking is at max. And I think it's a minimum of 20 DOT you have to have stake. Now, is there a chance in the future governance could raise the amount of DOT that you have to stake?
yes, yeah, they can do that for sure, and they actually put a cap. Governance did on how much dot is able to be staked at once. So like, the past couple weeks have been hard to start staking dot if you hadn't already. But that should start changing as we see, Akala come online, Moonbeam, some of these other parachains, because it's going to give people other options to utilize their dot. Right now, like staking is in governance are really the only two things to do with the dot token. But now we're going to see a bunch of DeFi applications coming on, so that
So
should help with that.
those
Yeah.
para those are the parachain loan offerings that would then use your dot basically in the auction, right? So you would have a choice between staking it or using it in a parachain loan offering, right?
Or using it, or just waiting and using it in
Or
DeFi applications. I mean,
ah,
or you can use this L dot too if you want to get into that as well. So there is like some small fees associated with it. So obviously, if you're going to use it. Additionally, some of the characteristics of L dot is going to be that it is tradable and liquid across all chains on the Polkadot network. L dot is redeemable for underlying dots at any time with option to redeem immediately or earlier, transferable unbonded dots. So one of the things they'll have like available dot that's like liquid and has been unbonded already that you can pay a premium to get it back and not wait the 28-day unbonding period, or you could pay the normal fee and get it back in 28 days. So there'll be opportunities to do that. Additionally, they'll have decentralized on-chain collective governance by LDOT and Akala holders for the HOMA protocol specifically. So if you hold LDOT, you can participate in the governance for the HOMA protocol. And additionally, they'll have an algorithmically adjusted staking strategy to optimize return and ensure liquidity. So the system will be choosing like which validators to stake with based on a bunch of different criteria that they've listed out in their white paper. And then also they say that they can leverage Polkadot's shared security for the HOMA, similar to the stablecoin, and they have a customizable fee schedule with it.
so
So
this really adds a lot of utility to the dot token, then going from just being a staking and governance to now being able to be used in DeFi and as L dot.
yes, absolutely. I mean, I can just think like, maybe you're getting 10% on having like some L dot. So like, over time there's dot tokens that are being earned by the dot that's deposited in that protocol and staked with validators. So you'll be earning some interest. So when you go back to collect that, you'll have interest there on top of the dot that you originally put in. And then like you could use your L dot in a liquidity pool maybe to earn fees and the network rewards, or you could also go and use it as collateral to take out a loan and do some other stuff. So it's nice. It's kind of like how the Spark token can do multiple things at once. This is their way to unlock it. It is a derivative, so it's different than what like Flare is doing. But yeah, I think it's really important for the Polkadot ecosystem to kind of help weigh some of those opportunity costs and find an equilibrium. And I just want to add in that the exchange rate between LDOT and DOT tokens is determined by the total number of dot tokens that have been staked in the HOMA protocol, plus any profit from interest that is accrued over the total issued LDOT tokens. So that's how you get the exchange rate, which will kind of change over time based on, people coming and redeeming some of the interest accrued through staking, or, redeeming the original dot that was staked and all that. So that's important to know. And then they'll have fully featured like on-chain governance. They have a couple different councils, like the L dot protocol. They have a specific council over that with people that are elected, and it works together with like token governance via the Akala token and L dot holders. So they'll have all that going on. So with this part of the video, Mickey, I do want to touch on what the Akala token is used for. So it's governance, like we just stated, which is like, proposals, utilization of funds, risk parameters like liquidation ratios or collateral types and things like that. And then additionally, it's a network utility token. So it has fees from native transactions and smart contracts. It's used for staking with collators. So that's one thing you could do. These parachains still have like kind of, I guess I don't, they have like their own validators, but they're not a validator in the normal sense. They just gather all the transactions that are happening on the parachain and then send them over to the validators on the Polkadot relay chain. So they're staking rewards for participating in that and nominating collators. Also, they'll have staking rewards for Oracle and other network activities. So that's cool that they have that set up. And then additionally, 34% of the Akala tokens will be distributed as reward to Parachain loan offering participants, and also network contributors, including liquidity providers, early participants, Oracle operators, and collators. And yeah, so a couple other things is like with some of these fees that are being paid, they're burning the Akala token, so it has deflationary pressure. And then we also know is like a last ditch effort to save the stablecoin system, they could mint new Akala tokens and sell them on the open market to pay back that bad debt. Um, but yeah, that'll cover a lot of like what that token's used for. And then I think the
So there's
last,
multiple
yeah,
utilities for that native asset. You can see how there's everything from staking to governance itself is a utility, and I think that gets overlooked a lot. Especially in our community, governance is a big factor in a lot of these networks now, and it's going to play a bigger role in the future in future proofing these networks and helping them evolve. And this is why governance tokens are very important, and they will be going forward in the future.
yeah, absolutely. And Mickey, the last thing we can kind of touch on before finishing this one up is they are creating something called a decentralized sovereign wealth fund. And this is going to operate with the treasury function that they have. And it will basically take network surpluses from fees, and some of that stuff will be going to this decentralized sovereign wealth fund in order to purchase the dot token so that it could become self-sustaining, and possibly the network can pay for its own parachain slot the second time that, or the next time they have to renew, which would be after 2 years. So that's really cool that maybe they wouldn't require just individuals to be bonding their dot behind the ecosystem, um, for like a future parachain loan offering. And then additionally, they'll be investing in some other assets that are not native to the Polkadot network. And the requirements behind those is that they have value, yield, and utility access to other blockchain networks and services. So I think like, Polkadot or Dot rather fits that criteria, Mickey, because it's utilized in like parachain loan offerings, it's utilized in governance, it has yield with staking, and then also has value, put on it already. To me, Spark, the Spark token from Flare Network, would fit into this. It has the FTSO yield. It's going to have value, and then by nature of it being locked up in the collateral system, and it has utility access as it's used in that collateral for other assets to be brought onto the network. So that'll be interesting as they use this decentralized sovereign wealth fund basically to maybe invest in future business partners that could build composable products on their parachain or different things like that. So this is kind of like you could think about this kind of similar to the APY cloud with Flare Finance. It's a little different, but they're doing something where they're taking like, all this economic activity on the network and trying to channel it into ways to improve the network or things to help it make it stay sustainable.
Yeah, it sounds like a monetary system is what they're building here and building up a treasury. And it sounds like DOT is kind of the reserve asset of the whole Polkadot ecosystem and these parachains in general here. And what you described there is those three different functions. I think of next generation cryptos, they're all going to need to have those functions right there. They're going to need to have yield, they're going to need to have utility, and they're going to need to have value. If they just have two of the three, they're not going to make it in the future. Granted, your Bitcoins and your XRPs are right now, and they already have value and they already have use cases, but these next generation assets are going to have yield. If they don't have native yield, they're not going to gain adoption. And that's really one thing we're seeing with these the next generation assets like Spark and Dot and others that are coming out. So these are the next generation tokens. They're going to need those three functions right there: value, utility, and yield. If they don't have that yield with it, they're not going to be able to make it in the future. When I say that, that's like the network rewards. Your Bitcoins and your XRPs, like I said, are already out there. They have their value. They're already ahead of everyone. But these next generation tokens are going to need that for their ecosystems. And assets like DOT and Spark have that already. So that's why they're out there. And I think they're going to have value. And the design of the underlying blockchain is very important to build these ecosystems. And something like DOT, Polkadot has been thought out for the last 5-6 years. And now it's up to these parachains, and they'll all be all different designs around each different parachain. And this sovereign wealth fund, I think it's fascinating, Patty, as a monetary system.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just like, finding ways to create new value with value that's already being generated. And, how do you do that in a decentralized system? So I think it's really cool. Governance will be involved in all that and like what kind of assets to invest in. That it looks like they'll probably have some like, analysts or people that are well versed in like tokenomics and mechanism design looking into things that like this sovereign wealth fund can invest in. But I definitely think it's like a good idea for them to try and become sustainable, especially in the first 2 years, so they don't have to worry about like as much maintaining their parachain slot into the future. Also, the last
Absolutely.
thing that's interesting is this project, like Moonbeam as well, which we covered last week, they are both looking to, after 6 years, try and become their own independent blockchains with a bridge to Polkadot. So, like, they wouldn't be parachains forever, but they're using, like, the shared security model from Polkadot and all its functionality to get them to that place and get them users to get to that place and value. But eventually they would kind of branch up, which would open it up for new kind of parachains to come about.
Well, it goes to show that these like applications or parachains and dApps are going to be their own monetary systems, and they'll replace things like exchanges in the marketplace and CeFi. You see these decentralized entities and decentralized wealth funds are going to help the ecosystem overall, the crypto markets and the industry, because they're going to be moving value between different networks and holding others' value and holding this. It's like it's creating its own economy in a way. And then when we see tokenization get involved with this, it's just going to blow up. And we're seeing it move to the decentralized, space. And this is just going to get bigger and bigger. And projects like this excite me. And it goes to show where the future is of crypto.
Yeah, and kind of to wrap up with a thing on the dot token, Mickey. So, there's about 70% of the supply is staked right now. Um, you know, the Akala or the Karura parachain crowd loan was worth $100 million on the day that it finished, with how many Kusama were bonded behind the Karura project. That's $100 million on a Canary network. That's worth a tenth of the Polkadot ecosystem. So like I'm really curious to see how high these parachain slots are going to be valued at. Also, that could require a lot of the tokens. Additionally, that remaining 30% that are more so liquid. Um, a lot of them are going to start getting locked up too. And then if we see like, decentralized sovereign wealth fund that's going to have, a bunch of dot in its kind of portfolio so that they can do that in the future. and save those parachain slots. And then you can think of a project like Moonbeam that has a bunch of different projects that have already been created that are going to launch on top of it, since it's an Ethereum virtual machine compatible network. They probably will want to have some dot tokens that they store that they can put up for future Moonbeam parachain auctions to make sure that like they have their spot saved and they don't have to find a new place to go. So I just see a lot of reason for a lot of different groups and entities to be holding the dot token over time. So
I agree. I absolutely agree with that. I mean, it seems like the storage demand of DOT is going to be tremendous. And this video is not financial advice. It's not tax advice. It's for educational purposes only. But it does show that there is massive storage demand. Everything is not just about utility. Utility, don't get me wrong, is a huge factor of things like governance. But storage demand is a huge, huge factor here as well. And it plays an important role, as does yield and network reward. So we have to keep those two other things in mind here.
Awesome. Well,
Great, but
yeah.
storage demand and holding the asset.
Well, that's going to wrap things up for us. This was another episode of the DeFi Standard on the Acala Parachain Network. And I'm Patty XRP.
And I'm Mickey B. Fresh.
And we are out. See y'all.